As the team are coming up to stage, I'm going to introduce our moderator. So Grant Mueller has over 20 years of experience building software solutions for utilities. Grant started his career in automated metering, building the head-end systems that power some of the largest electric AMI networks in the world. Grant was one of the first employees and director of the, I want to say this wrong, Grant, Verdico software? I got it, yeah. I thought Landis and Gear, where's that? So Verdico software team, which provided massive scale data analytics to power the growth of IoT projects at the utility. Verdico sold to Census Metering in 2014, and under Grant's leadership became one of the largest cloud-based meter analytics platforms in the industry. Before joining Earth, Grant led digital architecture and technology at Xylem, building solutions for a wide variety of utility problems such as pipeline integrity, energy efficiency, and ultimately driving digital adoption across a wide range of business processes. Grant, welcome.
Thank you. I think we're all mic'd here. We need one for Francis.
I think Francis needs
it. Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming. This is going to focus a lot on AI and analytics. Obviously, it's been a big day for us to talk about AI and analytics across almost every one of our presentations. And this panel is going to be focused on improving operations with data and AI. I want to take a minute to introduce our fabulous panelists here and give them a moment to talk a little bit about their operation before we jump into the questions. I'm going to start on the end with Francis. Francis Christensen is the manager of gas pipeline operations at Sacramento Municipal Utility District, SMUD, where he has worked for the last 12 years. Francis has held a wide variety of positions in heavy industry, including power plant operator, instrumentation and electrical technician, confined space rescue technician, pipeline technician, operations supervisor, maintenance and outage planner, regulatory coordinator, and assistant superintendent of thermal generation and gas pipeline operations. That is a lot. His industry experience includes hydrogen production, air separation facilities, chemical production, as well as natural gas pipelines and electrical generation. Francis, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your operation?
Sure. SMUD owns and operates 76 miles of pipeline that serves 4 power plants. Those 4 power plants represent about 50% of our electrical generation. We serve about 1.6 million customers in the greater Sacramento area, including portions of Yolo and Placer County. SMUD has a great reputation in the community. It's a great organization to work for. And it's very nice to be here, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Francis. All right, to Francis's right, we have Jason Knight with NiSource. Jason is an experienced business process engineer with a demonstrated history of working in the information technology and services industry. Skilled in operations management, customer relationship management, team building, Six Sigma, and manufacturing. Strong operations professional with a BSBA focused in management information systems in general from John Carroll University. Jason?
Yes, thank you. I've been with NiSource now for a little over 4 years. If you don't know, NiSource is the parent company of Columbia Gas and NIPSCO Electric. We have about 3.5 million customers on the gas side, a little over 500,000 on the electric side, dealing with a little over 2 million locates a year. It's a great company. We're in a 6-state area. Thanks a lot for inviting me here. Appreciate it.
Next we have Chance Walker with Southwest Gas. He's a data analyst with experience in network engineering, computer repair, system troubleshooting, and server installation and management. Chance also has experience in utility locating and damage prevention in the utility world. His current role involves analyzing damage data to systematically lower utility damages, and he is also on the board of the NRCGA Education and Training Committee. Chance?
Thank you. So yeah, like you said, I'm Chance Walker. I'm with Southwest Gas. We are in 3 states, so California, Arizona, and Nevada. We serve a little over 3 million customers, and I get to have the pleasure and main role of basically being at the program level for damage prevention for the entire company.
Thanks. All right, and back to the stage we have Thomas Lord, who is still the Vice President and CIO for UGI Corporation's natural gas businesses, UGI Energy Services, and Mountaineer Gas Company. He's responsible for the strategic direction and overall management of all IT functions, including data management and security, help desks, communication networks, program development, and computer system operations. And as we saw earlier, adoption of AI. Okay. So with that, I think we can jump right into the questions. And we're going to start with what I hope is a bit of an easy one. This is a question for everybody. What specific data analytics tools and AI technologies are you currently implementing to enhance operational efficiency? And how have they impacted your decision-making processes?
I'll start that one off if you guys don't mind. Cool. So at Southwest Gas, one of our main data analytics tools is Power BI. So we have been working towards building internal Power BI dashboards and basically creating a one-stop shop for all of our data, because we have Earth, which is great, and I'll jump into the AI side in a second. But we also have other systems and things, and for the longest time, trying to gather data or really like focus in on anything was kind of rough, because when you have to pull, exports from 7 different systems and then create nightmarish pivot tables and compile all the data, it gets a little rough. So what we found is by having that one-stop shop, right, absorbing data from Earth and from our other systems, it's really, I would say, it's increased the efficiency of our program. And it's really helped with our decision making and really focusing in on, the key performance indicators and the things that matter, so we can really take a hard data-driven approach to systemically reduce those damages and hone in on our trouble areas. As far as AI technologies, we've been using SmartScore, I think, since its inception. And we've recently adopted and kind of been testing and using the Insight model, which is awesome. And we also utilize Copilot in our Power BI and environment, playing around with that. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, great. Anyone else?
I can go next. So just kind of continuing on that on the NiSource side. We compile all of our data from all our different sources into a data hub. It's a SQL database that any sources we can get that into, we try to bring that in so it's easier to get data and interpol between the different data sources to kind of see if there's any relationships between them. We use Tableau right now to do any kind of data manipulation to get that out of there. We're in a transition now. We're going to switch over to Power BI. I'm going to switch our SQL database into a more robust Azure data lake. Again, it's keeping the same methodology of bringing all those different data sources together. There's so much more insights you can get when you're not just looking at one single source, a damage or a locator. I think there's many different sources you can pull from. So we'll look at our damage data, we'll look at the ticket data, we'll look at if there was a locate audit done. We even look at our org chart to see if maybe it's a leadership issue. We can bring all those different data sources together. So there's so much more depth you can get when you really peel back those onions and get into those different layers of all the different data sources you can get into. As for AI, we have been using an AI model for our risk score, actually from a competitor, for quite some time. Before that, we were using a kind of a more computer-based model for the last 7 years, but for the last 3 or 4 years, we have been using an AI model and currently switching over to the Earth model here shortly. But it's a definite cornerstone to our processes and procedures of utilizing any kind of tech and any kind of AI process.
So with regard to SMUD, we're running to catch up with regard to AI and data analytics. One of our pain points has been the availability of data. We've been fantastic about gathering data, but then that data ends up in something we call EDM, electronic document management, where it is almost impossible to retrieve, even for folks who are pretty astute with the system. And that leads to a lot of difficulty integrating data, but we recently worked with a third-party vendor to develop a risk analysis module, and that's beginning to inform our decisions. One of the things that we've also been very great about doing is a lot of public outreach, and that's even reaching out to affect those decisions about where we're targeting our public outreach for damage prevention.
So the first thing is I'm glad to hear that I still have a job. Because as my boss, I'm not answering my phone. Maybe he called Grant and told Grant something. It's interesting because I'm the technical guy, but yet everybody else is talking about Power BI and those things. I see it slightly differently. What we're looking at is what are the things we need to answer in the business? Why are things happening? What are the things that are happening? And then from that, looking at more of a vertical AI part of the world. So, what we have seen in the hype cycle that we're currently in about AI is you hear about generative AI, you hear about ChatGPT. Where should I go on my vacation, ChatGPT? Well, where would you like to go? But anyway, so it's really the vertical AI, and I think that's really where we are with the insights and so on. If you think about it, it's within a defined context. You define a very narrow context, you focus on what's there, you understand the data set that's there, and then you go forward from that point. So that's really what we're looking at is, we would like to understand why do we have the incidents that we do? Why do we get poor markouts? So that's how we're focusing on where we are, as opposed to, you can bring everything together, but then are you really going to be able to answer all the questions? Because I know in our company, we don't have the full understanding of the end-to-end connectivity and causal relationships between one thing and the next. And so if you try to create a universal AI for your company, I'm not sure how you're going to get there. And the other thing we're looking at is, I can't afford to invest in AI. I can afford to pay Brian a little extra if you guys will chip in as well, so that they can build the AI. But I can't afford to do it on my own. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm working with my vendor partners to say, hey, you have built a solution because you have a view of a defined business process. And therefore, that establishes a fixed context. Let's analyze within that before we start to try to get improvements across the enterprise. Let's try and get them vertically.
Yeah, interesting. Good insight. Yeah, I think if we're hearing maybe two different themes. One is if you put the data in one place, you'll learn things from it, potentially, but you maybe didn't start with the right question, or the reverse of that, which maybe you start with the question and then figure out what data you need, then centralize it to answer that question, as opposed to a bottoms-up kind of methodology. So, two different approaches. Interesting insights. Okay. All right. Let's go on to our next question. Can you share examples of how predictive analytics has been utilized to optimize maintenance schedules or prevent damages in your facilities? What results have you seen?
I can kind of kick that one off here. So we use the risk score model to risk all our tickets, and we use that to generate action. So we have our damage prevention specialists all in our footprint. Their job is to log in every day to look at the most highest risk, highest impact tickets and do some form of mitigation, some type of risk mitigation to those. So they're going to go out there, those highest risk, we want them to go out, boots on the ground, be at those locations. Maybe as they work down that list, it can just be an email, it can be a phone call, but we want basically some type of interaction based on that risk score. We want it there, we want it documented, we collect all that data, and we go back and see how it's working. So we have that loop. So as they're doing it, they're documenting it, we're getting that information in, we're seeing if there's any breakthrough damages, how's the risk score doing, but we want to drive some type of action. We just don't want to score it and say, okay, that's great, we got a high risk, what should we do with it? We want something to come of it. The second part we're doing is we're kind of looking at the locate side of it. So we have very strict ways of doing our locates. If they don't adhere to those processes, we have a turn back or a trouble locate will go back to us. That becomes a costly expenditure, not a good use of all of our highly trained personnel. So we're utilizing that risk score to change the way we locate. So on certain locates, if they can't do the prescribed method, and if it's a low risk, we allow certain stipulations that they are allowed to mark against. So it could be if it's under 150 feet and they have a line of sight and they can mark towards record. So we kind of lessened some of the guidances, still within our gas standards, but give them a little more leeway. So that has caused less tickets to come back to us, more resources of our highly skilled people to go out to the more high-risk tickets, and a huge cost savings too. So that's a lot less money of those tickets not coming back to us that we're able to recoup. So two very processes that are going on that we're utilizing that AI risk model that have been very productive for us. So again, we're always looking to try new things. We're always looking for data-driven solutions. So as more of these things come up, I saw the screening AI model. It's another one I'm going to start investigating and see if maybe we can run a pilot with that and maybe something that we can use to do something. We already have screeners that go through our tickets in certain areas and do that pre-screening. So maybe we can use that model to better create a better efficiency for them. Maybe we can get some more a better efficiency model with that.
So mentioning the screening model, we have various different criteria for our USA tickets, for screening tickets, and it's our field technicians who've been utilizing that screening criteria to determine whether or not a ticket needed to be investigated further or just responded to, hey, no conflict. So hearing about the screening method, it's something that we would definitely like to pilot and look at so that we can, reduce that time that individual is using to respond to a ticket. And then with regard to utilizing AI for our maintenance, our recent risk analysis model was looking at our anomalies, our internal line inspection anomalies, and our ILI digs. So we're using that data to reevaluate what digs that we are going to do and where we're going to do them, and using that to also reduce the risk score that we got. Even though the risk score was reasonably low, it does help us prioritize those resources and make us use those resources more efficiently. Something else that it brought to the fore for us was sections of pipeline that have unidentified material. SMUD, again, is really, really great for keeping records. We have all our construction records, yet somehow or another there's sections of pipeline that have unknown values for the material data, and that shows up by increasing our risk score. So that also helps us to say, hey, this is a priority. We're looking at the regulatory deadline of, in 5 years, that you have to have all your material verification done for gas pipeline. So that's helping us target those sections of pipe and be able to dig those locations and begin, positively identifying the material that the pipeline's made there. So
I'll jump in here. If you're here for the previous session, we're just starting that journey down that path. What's interesting for us, though, is that we've been doing predictive analytics in another part of our business that we're now trying to learn from, because being a gas business, we do a lot of the hydraulic modeling and everything like that, and we actually use predictive analytics in that part of the business all the time to determine which pipes are we going to replace, at what point in time, and when. So part of what we're trying to do now is to take that learning from that part of our engineering focus and say, okay, how can we use that same discipline, same thought process, but then apply it? And if you look at it, it really comes back, as everybody's saying, to the data. The guys doing the modeling and everything like that with Synergy and those tools, they have this wealth of data and they know it intimately. And so it's now trying to translate that knowledge into other parts of our business to say, okay, we can do that here. Is that applicable? Can we apply that same sort of mindset thinking to other areas? So that's a journey we're currently on.
I guess I'm last. So basically what Southwest Gas does is pretty much exactly what NiSource does, right? So we utilize the insight, scoring and the smart score to basically risk rank tickets. And then we have personnel across our service territories that will literally go out, boots on the ground. We want them to meet with that excavator, and just go over safe digging practices, 811, all of the stuff that we're so passionate about. I remember back when it was just Smart Score before Insight, I actually piloted that, and I was the guy who was the boots on the ground talking to these excavators. So, I think the main point here, and what I think we can all agree on, is like, we have the risk, right? Now what are we going to do with it? And that was a very serious question that we asked ourselves. So that's when we started implementing, whether it's an internal employee or one of our contractors, having that resource to go out and try and mitigate some of those damages, and also educate the personnel. So the beauty of my role and my experience is, like, I've been the guy in the field, and I'm also been behind the scenes, in the systems. And one thing that kind of astounds me, and I think if you look at the data, it'll show this. It was about 2 years ago when I was doing the consultations, or what we called them, go out and meet with the excavator, is the amount of people who just didn't know about 811 or like didn't know what a ticket was astounding. But I feel like we've seen a little bit of a shift in the industry, at least at Southwest Gas, where, okay, now people are starting to know, and they know about 811, they know about, safe digging, and they know about, having a ticket, but they don't know the process, right? They don't know, okay, I have to white line, pothole, what's the tolerant zone, things like that. So I think we're doing a great job of getting the message out there, and I think we're doing a great job with, finding the risk. And honestly, now I think it comes down to the education side. Because at the end of the day, at least from a utility owner operator, right, I always say it's a shared responsibility. We have a responsibility to provide energy. They have a responsibility to, and the excavators have a responsibility to work safely, right? So we all just kind of want to work together. And the cool thing too about, the consultations and stuff is just like you were saying, now we have that documented. It all goes into a database, which we can then pull and use it to feed the AI risk model to improve our risk scoring. And we can also use that data to pull into our dashboards and kind of focus in on key performance indicators and things like that. Because maybe there's an excavator who's hit us multiple times, or a certain area tends to have more people who don't have tickets or things like that, or maybe we have more trouble in like our areas with older infrastructure. So sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now, but yeah.
Well, no, and it's a thing that came up. It's come up in multiple conversations. Our ability to continually update the risk as we, do something about it. We discover more about the pipe material, the type of locate. That is not a static value. That it is constantly updated, and we use that to learn more for the next time it happens, so that we're continually improving our models, like Kyle mentioned in his presentation. Okay, great, guys. Well, we're lucky enough to work in an industry where we all follow data standards, and the GIS data is pristine. No, not really. We are unlucky enough to work in an industry where there are no data standards, and our GIS data is not pristine. So next question to all of you is, how do you ensure data quality and accuracy in your processes, and what challenges have you faced in integrating data from various sources?
How much time you got?
NASCAR is here in 30 minutes. No.
All right. So I have 29. If you don't mind, I'll kick that one off. Cool. All right, so how do we ensure, I'll start with data quality and accuracy first. So Southwest Gas, I know at least for, our damage data and a lot of the data we have from like, the consultations and like our line locate quality checks and things like that, we have a very in-depth, what we call a QC process. I know myself, I have the lovely pleasure of QCing every single damage that comes through the company. It's a manual process right now. What we are looking at is ways to make it better, make it more of an automated process so we can QC it at a higher level. But currently, we have like a supervisor review, and then it goes to what we have 5 damage prevention administrators in our company, 1 for each division. Well, I should say 6 because technically my boss is 1. We have 1 in corporate. But the 5 divisional damage prevention administrators will then perform a QC on all of that data, and then it comes to me. So that's kind of how we ensure data quality and accuracy at the moment. And then what challenges have we faced in integrating data from various sources? I think it just comes down to making the systems talk to each other, at least for us, because we've been looking at the idea of like a data lake or a warehouse, but we don't have one implemented yet. So currently it's like, all right, so how do we get, the data from, our damage database into Earth, or the data from, this system into this, or into Power BI, or however. Usually that's with an API, but sometimes I feel like I'm going mad, and I feel bad for the people who walk by my cubicle because I kind of look like that mad scientist with the little pins and the yarn. Like, all right, so this goes to this, and this connects to all of this.
It's the crime board, right?
Yes, exactly. It's the crime board of data analytics for sure. And then, I think formatting too. Like, all right, do we have we've done everything from API integration to having a scheduled CSV dump into an FPT server. So just finding these little ways to get the data where it needs to go and make sure it's absorbed where it's needed. And again, we are looking into ways to improve that. But I will say, and I kind of want to touch on this, and if I'm taking too long, you guys can just take the mic away. But when it comes to like the AI models and things like that, like I think it's only going to be as good as the data that the company feeds it, right? It's only going to be as good as we train it to be. So having good quality and accurate data, I think is very, very important. But also, making sure that we're capturing the data and we can use the data from our systems. And I'm going to slightly throw Earth under the bus just a little bit. One thing that we're working on is like, I love the work items, right? Because we can pull all of that data in. One thing that I know it's on the roadmap, but one thing that we really want to see is the ability for the custom response screen and that data to be pulled in. Because especially, and it's not just in our Earth system, we have some other systems as well, but I'm a big proponent of like, I hate free-form text because you can't use it for anything. So just having the ability to pull the data we need and to track what we need and turn that around and feed it into the AI, I think is going to be, key when it comes to all of this.
Yeah. Okay. Good suggestion.
I'd say that the biggest challenge that we have faced is around data quality is definition. So as an easy example, if I were to say, how many customers do you have? And in our company, different people that you talk to will give you a different definition of what a customer is. So you go and talk to operations, and they're looking at meters. Where do they service meters? And so that's their view of a customer. You come and talk to the billing folk, and they will look at the number of bills that they send out, and that's their view of the customer. And so you have that one word, which I can tell you in our company, as we went down the exercise, you would get 6 different definitions. And so before you bring everything together, before you set anything down, you really have to have agreed definitions as to what it is that you're measuring, and that is done by your business process which sets the context. So, because the business process will tell you what you're trying to achieve, purpose, result, at the point that you're doing it. And so we've had to come back and say, okay, we're going to reserve the word customer to mean this. Because we have customers who have multiple locations and they are choosing to get a single invoice for 12 locations. Do we have 12 customers or do we have one customer? So just trying to count, we're talking about data, you're just trying to count the number of customers you have. How can you count anything when you don't know what you're trying to count? And so that's the biggest thing as we go through all of these things. What's an incident, right? Have a definition that says, this is what it is, this is how you classify it. And then, because I can pull all my data together technically from across all my systems and dump it in a place. But I can tell you there will be ambiguity in that data because you have the same label that is used in different systems to mean different things. And you have different labels in different systems that actually mean the same thing. So until you establish a base context, you're going to struggle with data quality. I'll get off my soapbox.
No, that's a really good point, actually, that semantic layer of meaning. What does that data mean before you try to do anything in particular with it, or you could make a major mistake. I think kind of to Chance's point, too, junk data into your model, misunderstood data into your model, too, could produce something that you don't expect.
I can just kind of add on that. So we have a data governance group that kind of looks at all the data sources that we have, and we try to create a data dictionary for each and every source so we can relate them all. So you may have we have homegrown systems, we have other systems in our realm there that may be called one thing in one and something else in the other. That data dictionary is our bridge. So we're able to create new data sources from that using that data dictionary to combine it into one. So we have one that's just created for damages. So however the different ways we capture our damage data, we bring it all together, scrub it, and bring it into that one based on that data dictionary and how it goes. So again, standardization is key. If not, you have garbage in is garbage out. So that's one of the things that we struggle with the call center data, with the freeform text and everything like that. We have to do a lot of scrubbing. We bring that into our data hub. We run through some hard coding to get that cleaned up. We go through some of the software to do some predefined cleanups and kind of group data together, but you can have INC period, 800 different names for one excavation company. So we try to do our best to kind of get all that cleaned and scrubbed and put together into one whole system. But to your point, standardization is key. If not, it'll never meld together. You won't be able to get the right data that you need.
For SMUD, I feel like, we have some advantages is that, we do have a very strict data governance policies as well. But for us, the big thing is that we have no distribution. We're a transmission pipeline, and that greatly simplifies the data that we have and helps us standardize the data that we have. So when we are building our risk model, the construction data, the various different types of data that we had was very standardized and very easy to use and get it into that risk model. There's still some areas where we struggle. Again, freeform text, data coming from USA tickets, those are areas that we're still struggling with. But, again, this is something that, as late as 2013, we were literally still using paper tickets. We had no metrics on our USAs at all. Switching over to a ticket management system at least gave us some metrics that we can work with, in supplying data to our risk model, as well as utilizing it for other purposes. So.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm a bit new to this industry. I'm seeing the freeform ticket text for the first time, and Chance, you brought this up. The freeform text it's a bit of a problem from an engineering perspective to try and turn that into something that a machine and a machine learning model can make sense of. I mean, there's a lot of hope that the LLM approach to understanding freeform text is going to bridge that gap for us, but I'm still a little shocked by the freeform ticket text and the amount of effort that has to go into just understanding that as an industry and turn it into actionable data. It's pretty interesting. I mean, for the first time I saw, I don't know if anybody from Florida is in the room, but 100 to 200 as the address field. That to me was a kind of an eye-opener of how different it can be from place to place. So Very interesting. Okay. All right. On to our next question. In what ways are you leveraging data to improve service delivery and enhance the resiliency of your infrastructure? Can you provide any metrics that highlight this improvement? May not be a very popular one, I don't know.
Yeah, so not completely answering that question, but somewhere along those lines. For us, it's we don't, our customers are ourselves, our own power plants. So where this has really helped us is that looking at our risk model and looking at right now we have a single source of gas to supply our power plants, and talking about reliability. And as we're moving forward into the near future, and how we're changing the way that we're doing business is that, this is informing us, hey, this is what our reliability is like, how we're currently configured. And having a risk model and AI being able to back up and say, hey, this is the hard data. This is what this risk model is producing, and being able to take that to our directors and executives and our board of directors and have that hard data to supply to them. That's making them make some hard decisions that were not necessarily popular because it's like, hey, wait a minute, we have a single source of gas based on data. We need to have some redundancy, and maybe we need to build another section of pipeline to connect to a different source of gas, which is extremely unpopular in California right now, and particularly with SMUD. It's kind of almost political suicide to mention that, because we're really moving towards a zero carbon direction. You may have heard that we adopted a zero carbon by 2030, but for reliability's sake, we're realizing that, hey, our power plants and our gas pipeline are not going to go away by 2030. So having that data to support that, really, really helps, and it helps us have those hard conversations with decision makers above us. So.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of hope that the data will show that we can reduce capital spend. And I think anybody likes to hear that the data is showing that we need to increase it.
So regarding like the data and how we use it for resiliency of our infrastructure at Southwest Gas, we have some pretty cool projects going on on our replacement side. So all of the data for like our installs and pipe material, year of install, thing like that, we have all the data for that. And I do work. We have a department kind of just for, we call it's like the distribution integrity management programmer. Those guys over there, we have a lab too, where they can really focus in and try and determine, okay, why did this fail? Was it excavation damage? Was it maybe a rock impingement? Was it just the material of the pipe? Because there are some areas that was purchased. It wasn't installed by Southwest Gas. So bringing those up to standard, and we're finding like some of the like the especially like PVC lines, right, and certain pipes material it needs to be replaced to make it resilient, make it safe, and B, also to make sure that it can stand more time. So it was just really fascinating, because I was able to kind of get a peek behind their curtain, and the amount of data that they leverage, and how methodical they are when it comes to doing these projects is pretty cool.
Great.
It's interesting. For those of you who haven't met me, life is about stories, right? So I'll give you a little one here. Following on from this previous presentation I did, when I met with the operations directors, because what triggered me to even go and start looking at locates was I looked at their dashboard. And their dashboard was, what's the cost per locate per service area? And that, to me, struck me as odd, because I didn't realize that their responsibility was to do locates at a certain price point. And so I asked, why are you doing that? And they go, well, because the accounting folk beat us up if we spend too much money on locates. I'm going, but what's your purpose? And they're going, well, to do locates as cheaply as possible. And I'm like, no. Safely, reliably perform the work. And so we talk about leveraging the data. The interesting thing was that they were using that data to try to determine how they operate their areas. So you really have to come back to what is it you're trying to achieve? And so with them, we sat and we went through and said, hey, you can't just use a single number because locates, as you know, have different complexity, from 30 minutes marking out a residential home to 6 months marking out a big excavation down the road. So you have to be far more thoughtful in what is it that you're trying to do to be able to decide what data do I actually need to leverage. And so that's the journey that in the locate world we actually went on, which led us to the Utilisphere platform, because now instead of us focusing on how do we capture the costs, it's how do we understand the work that is being performed. And so that's the journey that we're on, and hopefully in a year or so, I will have the metrics to tell you just how well we're doing. But we've had to change completely how we thought about things, because we were thinking about how can we do it cheaply.
Yeah, that's great. The highlighting too, picking the right metric and the right KPIs, and how important it is to not pick the wrong one to drive the wrong incentives.
So we have a department that has a priority pipe list of what they want to replace. So we are actually starting a new project, and they just reached out to me recently on this one. So how do we go about systematically replacing that in the most easiest manner to reduce risk? So what we're doing, and one of our thoughts is to look at all the damages that we've had in the zip codes in the areas where that priority pipe is listed. So we went through 7 years of data to see there is definitely red zones where we saw huge amounts of damages, and those are what we're going to target as our first line of defense. Start replacing the pipe in those areas, because those seem to be showing the highest risk of possible damages. So it was something we're trying. I know we just started pulling the data, so I don't have any metrics on it, but just a different approach of saying how can we go about this in a different way and maybe prove to maybe reduce risk and support safety in a different manner.
All right, great. Great insights. Okay, this is my favorite question because it lets us kind of imagine a little bit and expand our minds and really, try to predict the future a little bit. Looking ahead, what emerging trends in AI and data analytics do you believe will most significantly shape the future of the gas utility industry, and how is your organization preparing for these changes?
So I'm going to go first and then run off the stage. I believe it's going to be that vertical AI. I believe it's going to be whereby you have solutions like Earth, you have some of the other solutions that we use, which have already the context that is already built in. Has the context, has the data set, and then you can leverage the vendor partners developing and building those AI tools that allow you to optimize the sets of business activities that are there. And then you're going to have a lot of these verticals, and then eventually is when you can then stitch it together horizontally across the business enterprise, across the landscape. But I really think the AI value we're going to see. Right now we're in a hype cycle, right? Everybody has, if those of you who are old enough, remember back 20-something years ago with the dot-com era, right? Everybody with a bag of money and a thought was building a website because they're going to become gazillionaires. But there's one Jeff Bezos, right? There are very few people who actually survived through that time frame. I think we're in the same hype cycle of AI. The truth be told is that you can't spell anything without AI. Wait for it, nobody got it, that's fine, I'll move on. But that's what's happening right now, right? AI is on everything. People are changing .com to be .ai in their business names. Let's get the value. I like what Earth is doing. It's in a focused area. It's going to deliver value in a focused area. Let's invest in that, get the value from those, and as we evolve, we'll get the additional value.
All right. Any more big predictions?
It's hard to follow up on that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry.
So, one prediction I think that with regard to pipeline industry and power production industry is that, it's going to make some predictions real. Things are just not going to be opinion anymore. It's going to be backed up by validated data. Risk for pipeline is, probability versus consequence versus miles of pipeline. And having that informed value of risk is going to help you target, the maintenance that we're doing, of course. I mean, this is very obvious, but it really takes it from this nebulous value that you're trying to convey to the financial folks and really makes it a hard figure that they can get their heads around and go, hey, you know what, that gives me a number. I like that number. It's not just a feeling or an opinion anymore, so.
Yeah, really good.
I would like to see the day where it's just feeding data constantly, and you have a dashboard that you wake up every day, look at the dashboard, and it's driving, and it's telling you what to look at. So it's saying, hey, on this day with this weather forecast, you have a higher risk in this area of somebody building a fence. What can we do to help mitigate that? Or this pipe in this area on this day with this geographical spatial and this GIS, it just basically helps drive what you need to do and drives action. That's the biggest thing. So putting all the different data connections together to drive some type of action, not just a score, not just some type of answer, but something that you use to drive.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, just step in here. Anybody remember Minority Report?
Yes.
So that has been my goal in my career, is to build for a business a model that ties the business process back to the systems, back to the data, so that you can come in and you can look at it and you can see it go red, touch the button in the sky like Tom Cruise did, and just touch it and have it expand, and you can actually see what's causing that part of your business to go red. And so I'm not done yet. That's why, as Brian said, I'm long in the tooth. I'll be even longer in the tooth because I'm going to build that before I retire.
Enhance.
So watch out, pre-crime, I'm after you.
Yeah. Pre-damage.
Pre-damage, I'm after you. Well, you said it. Before you dig, I'm going to tell you, no, don't dig there.
Yeah.
So.
So I'm going to kind of take a different take on this. So what emerging trends in AI and data analytics do you believe will shape the future? I think, we keep talking about, having good data, feeding the AI, having all this data, but I think, and one thing that we're actually prepping for is, where do we house it, right? And I know that's been one challenge with our company, right? Because we have Earth, we have multiple systems, and we're all feeding it data. So we almost need like we're probably a little bit late to the game, but like a data lake or a data warehouse or something. But also having the storage, right? Because if we keep talking about training AI, if we want to feed it 10 years of locate data, we have to have the ability and the infrastructure to store that data and, to archive that data and things like that. So that, I know that's something we're looking into. And then, I think another thing too is I always like to try and think of the field users, right? Because in the end, they're the end user, right? They're the boots on the ground that's collecting this data for us. So I know one thing that it's kind of been my motto and like my management's motto this year is less clicks, more better. So, if they have a damage, they have to put it into one system. If they need locates, they have to go into Earth. If they need work items, or anything like that, it's over here, it's over there. If we do one function, it might be in, they need to access 8 to 9 different systems depending on what they're doing that day. So, whether it's Earth or whatever, I think having a one-stop shop for the field personnel is going to be monumental in making sure that we have good quality data that we can then feed into the AI, right? You know, I always kind of envisioned, you know, like I want to open an app and I want to be like, all right, cool, I have my locates, but I need to do X, Y, Z on this. You know, maybe there's, you know, they're doing a watch and protect or a QC or even like tying it into, you know, leak, you know, our leak systems or anything like that. It would just be nice to see a one place where all work can be performed from and assigned and documented.
All right. Yeah, so thematically, obviously data-driven decisions, removing maybe some of the rules of thumb and opinions that we might have had in the past and driving by data instead. And then really moving, I think, from what I'm hearing, from that predictive to prescriptive. Really tell me what to do and maybe even how to do it. Or in the case of maybe trying to prevent a damage, what not to do. These are good themes. Okay. All right, so I think we're about at time.
We still have a few minutes if there are any questions.
Yeah.
Like most folks, number one issue is no one calls. So, and we rely very heavily on our public engagement, public awareness teams to help mitigate that. But do you guys see a vision to where maybe like with our suspected third-party damages and that kind of metric, how you can integrate that with the one-call data? If you're not already doing that, you are. Love to hear the solution to make business decisions or risk.
So we look at the damages on those no call and no notifies. So we're just looking at the damages, not any kind of ticket data. But we bring those damages in. We bring all the information in. We look for trends on a daily and weekly basis to monthly basis. We act upon those. So I'll work with our public awareness people. If we see a trend in certain areas, we'll target that for marketing. If we see a trend in certain work types, we'll market that. So we've done some crazy things with like streaming services. So we can pinpoint a certain area code and a certain type of commercial. So if we see trends in building a fence in this area code, we can go to Hulu and say, hey, show us a commercial that says, hey, are you building a fence? Make sure you call 811. So trying to look at all the different data aspects that we get for public awareness and kind of making kind of informed decisions on that, and kind of utilizing some of the other tech to get that message out there. So we'll look to see, maybe it's a Home Depot putting stickers on shovels, going to rental places and putting different advertisements on there, but pulling that damage data to see where it's trending and where it's going. So we look at all those different aspects to kind of mitigate that. It's one of our highest damage rates that we get is on the no call section. So whatever we can do to try to mitigate those is what we're trying right now.
I'm just doing the busybody approach. So when my wife and I walk through the neighborhood, I'm nosy and I watch what my neighbors are doing, and I stick 811 on their head. Because you know, they don't even know they're supposed to do it. So.
And yeah, that's kind of the same for us at Southwest Gas. So we look at the damage data, and we also look at, you know, what we call our consultations, you know, where that same person that, you know, responds to the risky tickets also kind of drives around and does exactly the busybody approach, right? They'll drive through new build neighborhoods, you know, places of heavy construction, things like that, and will actually physically get out and say, hey, where's, you know, like, do you have a dig ticket? You know, they'll search our system to maybe see if there is one. And then that all gets documented. So now we have the damage data and we have our consultation data that we can pull, and the divisions monitor that pretty closely, because that, I will admit, that is the one downfall to ticket risk scoring, is when there's no ticket, right? So that's kind of like the one thing. But I'm kind of excited to see the AI risk model. Like, if we can feed it our damage data and our like stuff like that, you know, can it look through it and you know, look for trends Like I know we kind of do that with Power BI now to really be like, all right, there's a pretty legitimate chance that this company who we found doesn't have locates or thing, we found them twice. They're probably without a ticket, but they haven't hit us yet. So I think that's also where the outreach comes out. To your point, and our damage prevention administrators are constantly trying to work with companies, because we found sometimes there's a disconnect, right? We could talk to the boots on the ground, the guys in the field, but maybe that necessarily doesn't go all the way up to the top of the company. So we kind of hit them from the bottom up in a top down kind of approach. Because I'm a big proponent, right? You need to have a culture of damage prevention in your company, because that really affects what I call the decision makers, the guys working in the field. They're going to decide, all right, do I make sure I have a ticket? Do I know what marks are? Am I going to use a shovel? Am I going to use a vac truck? Can we move where I'm going to plant this tree 3 feet so I'm not planting it on top of the gas line, or things like that. So I think it kind of all ties together of having the right data and the right metrics, and then utilizing those.
Yeah, you said it in the safety and preventing damage within your company, but it sounds like even within your community. So now I'm inspired to go and walk my neighborhood and say,
811.
what you doing there with that backhoe?
Yeah, I really, really love the busybody approach. I mean, it is really good. I mean, to be honest, some of our public outreach and most effective public outreach is word of mouth. We are going out to public outreach events and we're reaching out to individuals, and it might be the general public and homeowner and stuff, but they come to us and they're like, hey, my brother-in-law, he works in the excavation industry. Do you have any information I can give him? So, that is good. Along the lines of busybody approach, one of the things that we've done recently is we've started geofencing our pipeline and targeting public outreach based off the phone numbers of excavators who have excavated near us. So utilizing that geofencing, next step that we've been talking about is, okay, we're going to start targeting, these are the folks who are our problem excavators, and if they're coming close to our pipeline, then start targeting them with public outreach. So refining our approach a little more and targeting a little more versus, currently that geofencing is kind of a shotgun approach.
And getting back to the busybody approach, one thing that I love that Southwest Gas has done is we've turned every employee into a busybody. So we have implemented kind of an alert system that we call our damage prevention alert. Anybody in the company has access to it on their phone. They can open it up. It's 4 questions, a little box for a description, and then you can upload a photo if you happen to snap a photo. When that happens, that alert gets automatically sent to the damage prevention administrator, and the person who submitted it, their manager gets notified that, hey, they submitted a damage prevention alert. So in Vegas, I think the standard response time to get somebody out to an alert, we call it, is like 15 minutes. So I think I will purposefully pick new roads to drive down when I commute to work, just to see what's going on and cruise through. You'd be surprised, and then you submit it, and then I get a phone call going an hour later saying, hey, great job, they didn't have a ticket. Guess what? Now we're building a relationship with that excavator. Now we're training them, and we're developing that partnership with them. So yeah, that's just one thing we've done that I think is awesome. And then also all of that data gets put into a SharePoint list, which we can then pull and use for data analytics.
I was going to ask you how you're using that data to maybe drive more predictive.
And I'd also like to encourage folks here is that be your brother's keeper. Be aware where your neighbor utilities are. For us, it's PG&E. They're a big entity, and we're very well aware where they're at. They're aware of where we're at, and our collaborative relationship allows for them to notify us if they see folks digging near us or vice versa. And it's happened quite a bit. Along those lines is also your public outreach and establishing is not just about, hey, here's a pamphlet. It's about establishing relationships. There's been cases where landowners have contacted us and saved our asset because they, dropped a dime on their neighbor to let us know, hey, this individual's out there ripping. Do they have a USA ticket? And it took us a long time to get there because those personal relationships weren't there at first. At first, it was very, very antagonistic, and over time, developing those relationships and talking to those folks and saying, hey, we want to be a good neighbor to you and working with you to the best of our ability to get to that point where they're saying, hey, you know what? Now we are aware of the importance of this utility and what it can do. So.
Yeah, interesting. That's great. It's interesting. This is a talk on AI and the use of data analytics, and we ended on the human element and the fact that there really is no replacement for basic community outreach and communication.
Not yet. Minority Report.
Not yet. All right. I think that's it. I'd like to really thank our panelists here. This was a fantastic discussion. Feel free to ask them any more questions, but not me. No, I'd love to talk data and AI with anybody in the audience as well. Thanks again.